This is week 3. This week we're going to build on what we learned last week about latitude, and we're going to talk about how does it affect the climate, so depending on where you are in the world. The vocabulary, the words we're going to use this week, we're going to talk about the tropics, the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, the Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle, and we're going to talk about the Earth's axis. Okay, here's the globe, and on here I want you to quickly call out a reminder where the UK is, the North and South Pole, the equator, and the Northern and Southern Hemisphere. Go. Okay, well done. I expect you got all of these. Here's the equator, the North Pole, the UK, the South Pole, and the Northern and Southern Hemispheres. Now, when we're talking about the world, we often look at it upright, like this globe here. And this makes it nice and easy for us. And when it's on a flat map, a two-dimensional map, we'll nearly always look at it flat, like this. But the world isn't actually flat. And in relation to the sun, it is tilted. Okay, it's actually tilted like this. And so the Earth tilts, the angle is actually 23.5 degrees. So it's not exactly flat. And it's in relation to the sun. This affects the climate quite a lot. And here we are. This is the globe going round the sun. Now, the sun obviously is much bigger than the Earth, but it's a long way away, so it looks smaller. So in this is our summer up here in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, let's just find the UK first. Okay, well done. I'm sure you managed that. There's the UK, and we're in the Northern Hemisphere. And at this time of year, okay, this is our summer because the Earth is tilted so that the north part of the Earth is towards the sun. Okay, and so our days are longer, okay, and our nights are shorter and the weather is warmer. All right, so when the Earth is tilted in this way towards the sun, then you get summer in the Northern Hemisphere. But as you can see, down here in the Southern Hemisphere, they'll be having shorter days and longer nights. So they're having their winter. Okay, now, as the Earth travels around the sun every year, so it will take about 6 months to get round the sun, off we go, to the other side. Now, you can see what's happened. Now, the sun is much more showing to the Southern Hemisphere, and they're having their summer. And up here in the Northern Hemisphere in the UK, we don't get so much sun. We have shorter days, longer nights, it's colder, and we get more rain. Okay, so on this side, you get winter in the Northern Hemisphere, summer in the Southern Hemisphere. And that is because of the tilt in the Earth's axis. Okay, axis is a word we use to just mean the imaginary line that's going right up the middle of the world. Okay, and there's a tilt, 23.5 degrees. Now, here's a map, okay, which is back to being a flat map, but we're going to use this one to look at the latitude, the main latitudinal lines in the world. Now, you already know about the equator, okay, and the new ones we're going to talk about a bit more today is the Tropic of Capricorn, okay, and now this is 23.5 degrees south of the equator. And so in this area, in the tropics, okay, and there's the line of latitude, here's the Tropic of Cancer, and there's that line of latitude. In this area, you can have the sun directly overhead. These are the hottest parts of the world. Okay. Now, when you get above that line or below, the sun will not be directly overhead, and it isn't so hot above the tropics or below the tropics. The other important lines of latitude we use are the Arctic Circle, which is up here. There's the line of latitude, and the Antarctic Circle. And above those lines, you can get total darkness in the winter, and you can also get total daylight in the summer because of the tilt of the Earth. Okay, so here is how the latitude, your latitude wherever you are in the world, affects your climate. So there are these the phrases that we're going to use today: the polar zone, so near the poles, the North and the South Pole, very cold, as you know. The temperate zone, that's the one we need to know about, especially because we live there. Here's the UK, and the UK is in a temperate zone. And that means it's good for us, really. It's not too cold, it's not too hot, and we get plenty of rain, as you know, but we do get some sunshine as well. And that certain types of food crops will grow in a temperate zone, okay, and you might not be able to grow them in a tropical zone, but also it will be common right the way across on the same latitude. You've got a temperate zone all the way across and across here in North America. But at the same distance south of the equator, you'd also can find a temperate zone. There's not so much land down there. That's the reason there's not so much green. But here, if you go over to New Zealand and Tasmania, which is part of Australia, you'll find at the same distance south of the equator, you get another temperate zone. Polar zones, top, bottom, very cold. Temperate zone in the middle, good for growing crops, good for growing trees, like the type of trees we have, deciduous trees. That's your birch, beech, oak, all of those trees. They lose their leaves in winter. That's why we call them deciduous trees. Okay. And then you get the same type of climate down here, the temperate zone. Next one, subtropical zone. So here, very hot. Okay, very hot indeed. And the same when you go south of the equator, very hot, subtropical. The tropical zone, okay, is again very hot, but actually tends to be, they keep their moisture. A lot of the rainforests are on this line here along the equator. Here's the Amazon down here in Brazil, which you've heard of. They tend to keep their moisture. In a rainforest, it's very hot, very humid, and it usually rains every day. It doesn't change much between summer and winter, right here along the equator. In the subtropical zones, it's actually a bit drier. They have a dry season and a wet season. Okay, and you'll hear people who live in these countries talking about the monsoons. If the monsoon is too strong, they have floods. If the monsoon doesn't come, then the crops won't grow, and then they have droughts. Okay, so subtropical is hot and dry, but they also have a wet season, a dry season and a wet season. And then it's the same here. So you go certain number of degrees north of the equator, you'll have subtropical climate. And if you go the same number of degrees south of the equator, subtropical climate. Okay? Right. Here's task number one. On diagram like this, you can just draw it out. Draw out two columns. Okay, and here you're going to mark on here the main lines of latitude. Okay, you're going to mark, these are the words that go in here, but I've mixed them up, so they're not in the right order. You have to try and get them in the right order. You can either go back and look at the video again to help you if you can't remember, or use an atlas or a globe that you might have at school, at home, or have a look on the internet. So you're going to fill these lines in here, these words. And over here, what are the climate zones? Now, there's only 4 phrases that we're using today: the polar zone, subtropical zone, the temperate zone, and the tropical zone. So I'm sure you've worked out there are 8 boxes and only 4 phrases. So you have to use each of these twice. Okay? So you're going to have a go at doing that. And as soon as I finish speaking, you're going to pause the video and try and do that. Draw a column on your piece of paper, have a go at doing that, and then unpause the video and carry on. Okay? When you have done yours, if you do them in pencil first time, and then if you make any mistakes, you can change them. Okay, so pause the video now. All right, well done. So you've had a go at that, and now you're ready to carry on with the lesson. So here we're going to go through the answers. So if you did make any mistakes, don't worry about it. You can change them. All right. And this is a piece of work you're going to send to me, so have a check of the spelling, etc. So here we go. North Pole, Arctic Circle, the Tropic of Cancer. So there are 2 tropics. The Tropic of Cancer is the one in the north. Okay. It's got nothing to do with cancer, the disease. It's to do with the star sign that you can see in the sky from that area. The equator, Tropic of Capricorn, Antarctic, and finally the South Pole. The climate zones: polar at the very top of the world, temperate where we live, subtropical where they have a wet season and a dry season, but very hot. Tropical climate zone, again near the equator, just south or just north of the equator will be a tropical climate zone. Then as you go south of the equator, you have another subtropical climate zone, like you might find in Australia. And then another temperate zone like we saw in New Zealand. And finally a polar climate zone at the Antarctic. Right, now, here's a challenge for you. Use those 4 phrases then to identify where each of these pictures are. So the 4 phrases are polar, temperate, subtropical, or tropical. So you're going to write the numbers 1 to 7. There are 7 pictures. Write the numbers 1 to 7 on a piece of paper. First time round, do it in pencil, and then later you can change them. Here's the first picture. Which climate zone is this one in? Second picture. Third picture. If I'm going too fast, you can pause it. Fourth picture. This picture. Number 6. Number 7. Okay, so pause the video and write down all your ideas. Okay, ready. Now, let's carry on. Number 1, which of the 4 did you choose? You've got 4 polar, temperate, subtropical, or tropical to choose from. Which one did you choose? I'm sure you got this one right. It's the polar climate zone. We know it's the Antarctic, not the Arctic, because here's land. The Antarctic is a massive continent, as you know, whereas the Arctic is just sea ice. So although polar bears will travel across the North Pole, okay, it's just sea ice surrounded by land. You have land at Alaska, top of Canada, Greenland, Russia, but at the actual North Pole there's no land, just sea ice. What's this one? This is a tropical climate zone. Okay, and this is a spice plantation in Sri Lanka. It needs a very hot and humid climate, 18 to 35 degrees centigrade. And we would hardly ever get up to 35 here in Britain. This is a temperate climate zone. I expect you got this. This is down the road. This is really close to us. This is on the Hangers Way, which is a nice walk you can do in this area. And these trees are deciduous trees. You've got beech trees, oak trees, and then you've got fields of corn. This is a temperate climate zone. So you could see a similar scene in one of the other temperate places in the world, in Europe, in North America, possibly in South America as well, or in New Zealand. Number 4. Now I expect you got this one. This is a rainforest. This one is actually in Brazil. It's hot and wet and humid all year round. And this one, this is subtropical. This is in the dry season, and this is an oil palm plantation in the Gambia in West Africa. This one, okay, this is in the polar climate zone. It's on an island right off the edge of South America in the far south, and they have winter in August, so the other way around to us, and the temperature in August is about 0 degrees. And when they have their summer, which is in January, it gets up to 8 degrees, which for us would still be, we wouldn't think much of a summer that only got up to 8 degrees. Last one. Okay, this is a subtropical climate. It's a tea plantation in India. So when we have a nice cup of tea, this is the sort of place it grows in. And it needs a wet and a dry season to grow well. And you can see it's not as lush and thick as the tropical climate, the rainforest. Okay, well done. So tasks 1 and 2 you're going to send to me. So task number 2 is a list 1 to 7 write the numbers on your margin and put down which type of climate zone you think it is. And then task 1 is this one with all, bit of a giveaway there, this one with all of these boxes filled in. There we go. So send them to me as soon as you're ready. If you had to make a few changes after you did it the first time, that doesn't matter, don't worry about it, but you could make the changes in a different color. Okay, well done everybody, see you soon.